what an honor it is to be in the oldest shul in Montreal. Over 2.5 centuries. And it still survives. Kind of like, it probably would have been a very small community at the time, 2.5 centuries ago. And a small community survived all this time, kind of like a small amount of purified olive oil surviving 8 long days, right? Sometimes it's the small ones that pack the best punch. I know that when my wife is short. She's got a very, very strong uppercut. The lesson we take, there are in fact many lessons we can take from the message of Hanukkah, isn't there? Lessons that we need now more than ever. First of all, why did Hanukkah happen? Because of the great Maccabees, a ragtag group that was massively outnumbered and ill-equipped, facing a powerful king who attempted to oppress the Jewish people and ban the Jewish faith, driving it out of Jerusalem, of all places. But the Maccabees said no. They courageously resisted. And with time, they won the battle to reclaim the temple. And of course, all of this victory of freedom over oppression, of good over evil, and of course, light over darkness, is captured by the symbolism of the menorah, which with just one small candle, one small flame, is overcoming the power of darkness. Now, and there's much darkness to overcome today. I don't have to tell you about the horrific, genocidal death cult of Hamas that launched an unprovoked attack, breaking a ceasefire, mercilessly and maliciously tearing apart human bodies, doing so with a kind of delight, pride, and glee that I don't know if the world has ever seen. The biggest attack against the Jewish people since the Holocaust. Since that time, vicious anti-Semites have slithered out of dark places to carry out terrible crimes of aggression, including here in Canada, where schools and shuls have been shot at and firebombed. Here in Canada, where we never thought it was possible. This might seem like a time of terrible darkness, but I don't come here with a message of fear, but one of hope. Because in the midst of all this darkness, there is much light. You know, the Maccabees were all alone. They had no friends. They had to defend Judaism all by themselves, and yet they overcame. Just as David had overcome a much more powerful enemy. But today, the Jews have many friends. Friends that are before you today. There are many Canadians across this country who understand that Canada would not be Canada without our Jewish people. And we will stand with you against anti-Semitism. You know, when I was a young boy, or half my current age, I went to Israel and I had a chance to backpack. And I went all over many places that goys never go. They had, actually, I don't know if they still have this in Israel, but they did a lot of hitchhiking back then. Yeah. They still have hitchhiking? I would stand on a roadside, put up my thumb, and someone would stop and pick me up. And as long as I was en route, they'd take me as far as we were both heading in the same direction. And I had beautiful experiences traveling across the Israel, many places, Beersheba, Metula, and Gedi. I even slept in Gedi in a kibbutz, woke up to watch the sun come up over the Dead Sea. Incredible experiences. But the most interesting of all was when I asked a friend of mine, Rochelle Bronfman, if she could find me a ultra-Orthodox family that would take me in, take in a Gentile for the Shabbat. I wanted to experience it. And so there was this gentleman named Ephraim Shore. He's actually from London, Ontario. He made Aliyah to go teach at a yeshiva in Jerusalem. And so I got on the bus in Jerusalem to go to this village. And the bus driver took one look at me and he said, "This guy doesn't belong in that village." I said, "No, I'm just visiting. I'm going to go take in Shabbat." He said, "Well, who are you visiting?" I said, "Well, his name is Ephraim Shore. He's a rabbi." And then someone in the back said, "Oh yeah, Ephraim Shore. I know Ephraim Shore. So how do we know you're really going to visit him?" So I had to call him on my cell phone. And the cell phone was passed around and he was cross-examined. And finally they authenticated it was really him because they didn't want a suspicious-looking person like me going to the village. So anyway, they took me there. And we had the most incredible Shabbat. But what was most striking was after he flipped through the Talmud and the Mishnah and argued over the many particularities of ethics and laws, and I thought, my goodness, this reminds me of the House of Commons. But what was the most beautiful part of all was that they began singing the beautiful songs of their ancestors. And he had 7 kids. He was a real rabbi, right? 7 kids. And I could hear in the voices the echoes of their fathers from 3,000 years earlier, the same Hebrew songs, sung by the same Hebrew people, worshiping the same Hebrew God on the same Hebrew land as 3,000 years ago. What an incredible story. Of history who tried to destroy the Jewish people as far back as the Pharaoh. We think of the Shoah, we think of Stalin. But I ask you, as ugly as it is to look back on that history, I ask you, where are all these villains today? They have been condemned to the garbage can of history, and yet the Jewish people still live on. They have persevered and overcome. The light has always overcome the darkness, no matter how unlikely that outcome seemed to be. And so, as you go through this difficult time, know that the traditions, the faith, and the people of the Jewish homeland of Israel will live on. And thousands of years from now, they will still be lighting the menorah as we will tonight. Thousands of years from now, they will still be honoring the Shabbat when sun goes down on Friday. Thousands of years from now, they will still be reading the same sacred scriptures of the Torah. Thousands of years from now, we will still say, and so we must have hope, we must lock arms, we must rejoice in the beauty of this moment and this life, because every life is like a universe, and every universe is precious. So my friends, let us today celebrate